3-hour session, I'm going to try to squeeze in at least 1 5-minute bio break in between the training itself and the certification. So it will be divided into 2 segments. One segment where I'm going to walk you through a couple of demos, show you the basic stuff with Sumo Logic, and then a short bio break, and after that you're going to be able to take the fundamentals certification. So 5 steps to become a fundamental user. Really, how does Sumo Logic help me? What data is available to me? How can I search, parse, and analyze my data? And also, how can I monitor my trends and critical events? And of course, the next step, where do I go from here? So in order to get credit for the exam, you need to log on to your own Sumo Logic instance. If you haven't started your own instance, you can do that from sumologic.com, and you can choose free trial and just register there, and then go to the certification tab. So the certification is an online exam. It's a 30 multiple choice question and you have a 60-minute time limit on it. And of course, you can retake this if you miss the first or second time. I will also emphasize that this is an open book certification, so you are allowed to utilize Google, you are allowed to utilize the user interface to get insights and help during the certification. So don't be afraid. We want you to succeed to take this certification. Okay, so how does Sumo Logic help me? Sumo Logic is really a log management platform, and I'm going to walk through in a demo where we're going to monitor and troubleshoot. So this is going to be what we call one of the 3 use cases. Sumo Logic is utilized by companies and organizations all over the world today for real-time insights to their machine data. And when we talk about machine data, we talk about information coming from any type of software or hardware. That is the machine data. So we look at metrics, logs, and events. Sumo Logic is, of course, delivered as a SaaS solution, and we are utilizing AWS as our cloud provider for this SaaS solution. So I'm going to walk you through a demo where we start with an alert, and then we're going to go into the metrics to see if the lights are on, and if they are not on, then we're going to utilize the logs to go further down into to try to see what the problem was. So I'm going to stop sharing here my PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to put up a Slack window. And the Slack window here that you see, this is really a message that I have got from Sumo Logic. This is an alert that has been generated by Sumo Logic. And you can see here that it looks like we have a problem on the gateway. There is some type of anomaly detected on the gateway response time. So what I can do here is I can go into a dashboard that will show the overview here. So let me click here. And one important thing here is regarding the data that we are running. We are hosting a site that we call travellogic.info. And this site is really built on Kubernetes, Docker, web servers. You know, this is a modern application stack that is running on AWS. It could run on Azure. It could run on Google Cloud also. But we are utilizing this Travel Logic site, and it is like a copy of Expedia or hotels.com, where you can book your flights, your hotel, and your car hires. So all the data coming in from the Travel Logic site is captured into this demo environment that we gonna go through. So you can see that I went from a Slack message. It could be text, it could be something else. And you can see here that what I see here is an operational overview of my environment, the Travel Logic site. So you can see here that we have different traffic lights that we call them, and they each are called a panel. So each traffic light is a panel, and each panel is running a query in real time or in schedule mode. That query, and we're gonna walk through some of the parts of the query language during this training session, are powering both the alert that you saw coming into Slack, this dashboard, and other stuff within Sumo Logic. Before we do a drill down into this problem, I want you to be aware of that the three use cases that Sumo Logic can be utilized for, or the main three use cases we see most of the customers and organizations utilizing Sumo Logic for today, are IT ops, DevOps, security use cases, and business intelligence and business analytics. So with the same information we are getting from the machine data coming from the Travel Logic site, I can utilize the query language to present this in different flavors for different audience. So instead of looking at this information from operational overview, I can do a dashboard showing the same basic information, but in more of a business overview. So here you see that we have traffic lights showing the different parts on my application stack. Further below down, you can see where my flight bookings are coming from, where the hotel bookings are coming from, and where the car bookings are coming from. We are also drilling down to look at outliers, and I'm gonna walk you through the concept of outliers a little bit later. But if I magnify this, you can see that here we see the physical bookings itself, and here we have the calculated plus and minus values. So if for any reason, like here, the physical bookings are below, like they are here, we are triggered an outlier alert. Okay. So we have divided it up to the flights, the hotel bookings, and the car bookings here. What you also can see is that we are do a hourly booking panel here, so we can see how many thousands of bookings are done, you know, on average in the last 60 minutes. And I could even put up monetary value here. You know, how much is each order in dollars worth, and so on. At the same time, moving from business intelligence and business analytics like we have here, we can go into a security use case. And this is a very quick example of how you can utilize the information that I presented in the business overview more from a security use case point of view. So you can see here that we are looking at where does the customer come from on the different, from a geographical point of view, the IP numbers. We are looking at different data sources, and we will walk through the concept of the metadata that we have inside Sumo Logic, like the different data sources. They are called a source category. And in this dashboard, we are showing source categories like firewall logs, like web server Apache logs, and so on. I'm not going to go in more into detail regarding this dashboard. You're going to be able to take a look at this during the later in the labs yourself. So let's go back to the operational overview, and I can see here that we really have a problem within the checkout service. So let us click here. So you can make your own dashboards. And as you can see here, when I clicked on this, we got a drill down. And I'm gonna take away the left panel here so you can see the different panels much better. So here you see a typical IT ops dashboard where you can see that we are looking at both logs and metrics. You know, we often get questions, what is the difference in between logs and metrics? And the simple answer to that is that metrics is really showing if the lights are on, and if they are on, how they are on, right? If you have a problem, you will utilize the metrics to see that you have a problem, but you will then need to go into the logs to be able to find the root cause of the problem, right? So what you can see here is that we are looking at all bookings that has happened since the last hour, and you can see here that it worked from 25 past 4 p.m. and then we started to get problem again at 5 o'clock p.m. So you can see that we are both looking at failures and success. So here we started to get a much higher amount of errors when it comes to bookings from travellogic.com. At the same time, and I really like this panel, is that we are showing the amount of errors. So here we have a query running that utilize the query language in a way where we are looking for errors in the logs. And you can see here that at the same time as I got this Slack alert, the errors started to spike, right? If you move further down, we are breaking out the errors per Docker node here. So you can, if we examine this one a little bit more in detail, you can see that we have no problems with the worker nodes, but the production nodes within my Docker cluster is having problem. So I think there is something really fishy going on here. So let us concentrate on this panel. Here you see a correlation of CPU and total memory. So this is a panel showing more metrics related data. So you can see here that we have normal utilization, both CPU and total memory wise here. And here, as soon as I got the Slack message, I started to get spikes on a couple of nodes regarding memory and CPU usage. So let us open up this inside Sumo Logic. So what you see here is that we are taken into what we call a metrics view. So here you can see that we are correlating. So I'm not going to go into the details of the query here because we're gonna cover that a little bit later in this session. But you can see here that we are looking for metrics. So we are looking for CPU usage and we are looking for memory usage. And we are calculating this by average by node. And at the same time, you can see here that we are looking for the string error or exception. So if I would change this, then you're gonna see that the heat map above here will change, because the heat map here correlates to what we are finding here. So instead of looking for error or exception, if I update this query again, you're gonna see that the heat map is gonna show all messages during this 1 minute window, right? So let's go back and search for the string error. So everything I do here is done in real time on the data that we have ingested. And Sumo Logic is very, very scalable and elastic. So we have different organizations and customers who is indexing several terabytes of data per day without any problems. We are talking about tens of terabytes per day. So let's run this query again when we're looking for the string error and see what happens. So you can see here that when we started to utilize more CPU and memory on the nodes, you can also see that the error messages started to pop up. So if I shift and click on this part of the heat map, you're gonna see that we are taken into the query window. Here you see the query itself, and you're gonna see, I'm gonna talk more how this is built up a little bit later in the session. You can see here, I'm gonna change this so you can see the whole like this. So you can see here that in this case, we have found 196 log lines with the string error within this 1 minute window. The thing here is that it's most common that the problem doesn't start really with an error or exception. So in this case, to be able to find the problem, I really want to do a drill down, both start with a helicopter view and then be able to do a more narrow search. So one of the functions that we have built into Sumo Logic is called surrounding messages. So if I choose the category here, you see the different names here. So you see source host, you see source name, and you see source category. These are 3 examples of the 4 different meta tags that we have inside Sumo Logic. So let us do a query on the surrounding messages plus minus 10 minutes. So what we're going to do here is that you're going to see that the query will change. So first of all, when I click here, you're going to see that the time picker here has changed from a 1 minute window to a 20-minute window, plus minus 10 minutes, right? And also the source category that we have here, the source category is really the start of the query. We are looking inside one or multiple data sources. The more specific this source category is, the more specific I'm looking inside my environment, right? So instead of having a very specific query here, we have taken away error, and we have also gone from a very small part of the environment into my checkout part. I think I want to do this even further, open up the query here. So what I'm going to do here is that I take away /checkout. So instead of just checking for logs within these 20 minutes within my environment, I'm now looking for everything within my travel environment, not just the checkout part of it. So what happens here is that now we get roughly 37 log lines in real time back as a result. So yeah, so presumably, I would be able to walk through all the logs here manually. It would be very cumbersome, and I would hate to do that. So what we have incorporated inside Sumo Logic is what we call machine learning for the common man. And this is really where we, with the help of click of a button, you're going to be able to utilize machine learning. So if I click on log reduce, what Sumo Logic will do automatically here is start to utilize machine learning algorithms to start to cluster the different log events into buckets, you know, according to similarity and so on. So with this query here and the time window, you can see that 37,000 results were more than 1,400 pages. And now instead, we have got 3 pages that we can walk through really manually. And you can see here that now it's sorted accordingly to the highest value when it comes to the clustered events all together. So let us change it and see if we can see something else. Yeah, you can see we have some HTTP error here. And a little bit further up. Info, Travelogic app starting cluster, checkout version 1.14.dev. So it looks really like the problem in this case, while we started from this Slack message down to working with the query language without writing any queries yourself, we found out that it looks like the problem is that somebody has released dev code into production, right? And with this, I think I know who I'm going to contact in the development department. So this was just to show you very quickly how Sumo Logic can be utilized as a platform for machine data, going from a problem that you get maybe through Slack or in an email or in a text, down to finding the root cause of the problem. And from here, of course, you can save this as an alert, and you can go further down and trigger on this every time you see the same problem and do stuff. And I'm not going to show the alerting mechanisms in this demo. We're going to walk it through a little bit later in this session. For the new people, please don't forget that everybody is on mute. We are recording this session, and please utilize the Q&A if you have any questions. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So the flow within Sumo Logic is really broken down into 3 stages. First, we talk about the data collection, where we utilize something that we call a collector, and I will talk about this in the next slide. The sources that you see here in the first phase is really the data sources. These can be web servers, these can be Kubernetes clusters, this can be your developed application, and so on. This data, machine data, is then sent into Sumo Logic, where the next step is really search and analyze the data. So you utilize what we call different operators, and the different operators are the different commands utilized within the query search bar. Then from the result that you get, you can build charts. And the last step is really to visualize and monitor what you have found. So as I said earlier, you can utilize the same query when we found 1.14.dev and utilize that and build an alert and a dashboard around that. So here you see a very simplified schematic when it comes to sending data into Sumo Logic. You can see that on the left side, we talk about installed collectors. The installed collectors are low footprint agents that you can install on your servers, Unix, Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and so on, to monitor log files, events, and metrics, and send that information up to Sumo Logic through, of course, an encrypted session. And the more we move from the left side into the right side, we talk about what we call hosted collectors. So you can see here that we are good at any type of machine data, more or less. Everything from container information, like from Kubernetes, to CDN, to client-side software, to other SaaS solutions like Salesforce, Office 365, and so on, into the hosted collector mechanism where we host collectors to be able to capture logs, metrics, and events from the different cloud providers. So we are running on AWS, but we are equally good at capturing logs, events, and metrics from both Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform. So really, this is from host, send local data, and then utilize a centralized infrastructure. So one interesting figure here is that of all the petabytes that we are looking at per day, we are looking at more than 100 petabytes of data from our customers in real time in our solution per day. 40% of that, or even more, are coming from on-prem data sources. So Sumo Logic is really, really a good platform for on-prem data and everything in between up to cloud solutions. So when the data has been sent into Sumo Logic, we index this data, and metadata tags are associated with each log message that is collected. So from the collector, it is pushed up to the SaaS solution, and the different tags we have are _collector, and this is the name of the collector, and it defaults to the host name. Then we have _source host, and this is the host name of the server, and it defaults to the host name also. Then we have _source name, and that is name and path of the log file. We have _source, name of the source this data came through, and of course these four are more or less hard-coded through the setup of the different collectors. But the fifth option that you saw that I utilized, like the source category /labs/Apache, that we will utilize later, can be freely configured. So main metadata tag could be labs/Apache/access to get hold of the access logs from Apache server. The nice thing here is that we have good documentations, and you're gonna see that later, that where we walk through also naming convention and stuff like that. So here is the tutorial, the hands-on exercises. So I would like everybody to try to log on, and what you're gonna utilize are go into service.sumologic.com, and this is to be able to run the labs that we're gonna walk through today. So this is not where you're gonna take your exam. This is for this is for going through the tutorial. So the important thing here that you can see in the webinar chat also is that the password is a 0, right? So it's SUM0 labs exclamation mark. So all the labs can be found here. So please try to log on, and I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do this. And once again, the password is Sumo Labs with a 0. So please raise your hand if you have any problems. Let's give it a couple of minutes for you to try to log on to the organization here. Okay. So please don't forget to raise your hand or the Q&A if you have problems logging on. We had somebody so Honor, maybe you could help help the participant that had problem here.
Yes, I will love to. I just don't see. Okay, David, let me go ahead and message you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to walk through the most of the labs also. Okay. So I'm going to walk through most of the labs together as a group also. So don't worry. We're going to take it step by step. So let's go back to the slide deck here. So really, what data can I analyze inside Sumo Logic? What's available to me? And really, you have two options. You can utilize the collectors to look at what you have in data sources to choose from, or the option two, you can utilize a query to search for source categories, like you can see here in option 2. So here we are doing a source category query on everything because equals star, and then we do a count by source category. So you can see that all the different source categories is divided into how many log lines we see from them. Okay. So how can I analyze my data? Search, parse, and analyze, and really have somebody already analyze the same data. You can go into shared with me. You can also look at the Sumo Logic apps, and I will walk this through more in depth. So the Sumo Logic apps that you will find in your environment are like a kickstart, like a power package for different vendors and data sources and use cases. So within this app, you will find queries, and you will find already pre-built dashboards that will help you get up and going, I would say, within minutes for a specific data source. So we're going to walk this through a little bit later. So I'm going to walk you through a more thorough demo here, where we're going to utilize the different functions within Sumo Logic, and then after that this demo will take like 35 to 40 minutes. Then we're going to start to walk through the different labs. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my my PowerPoint here, and let's go into I'm going to log on to a training environment, and this is the same environment that you should have access to. I think everybody was able to log on, and once again, I want to emphasize that this instance or organization, as we called it, shouldn't be utilized for the certification. So the landing page that you see here is going to be the same, more or less, when you sign up for a free trial where you can take the certification. So you're going to see here that you have the home page. So you will see quick links to recently opened dashboards, recently run searches, recommended dashboards, and pin searches. On the left-hand side, you can see here where I have my personal folder is the navigation window that allows you to look at recently opened by me dashboard and searches. And you can see here that I have a star here. So if I click on this, you're gonna see that I can make this a favorite. So when you have done this, you're gonna be able to access this quicker. A little bit to the left, to the right here, you can see that we have a Learn tab. So when you click on the Learn tab, you're gonna see two different tutorial boxes here, using Sumo Logic tutorial and set up Sumo Logic tutorial. So what we're gonna walk through today is this here. So we have today 4 different levels of certifications. And you can see here that we have fundamentals. The other box that we saw setting up Sumo Logic will be covered more in the administration track. So we have fundamentals, we have search mastery, we have administration, and then we also have security analytics. So all these can be taken for free online, and you can see here that you have either hands-on labs or tutorials. So the login that you got, and I will, you have that in the chat box also. You can utilize that for a couple of weeks from today, right? So if you want to go in back and do some of the labs, just go into this environment, because this environment is populated with demo data from all the different data sources. So it's a very good way of utilizing this environment to learn more about Sumo Logic. So I would really recommend you, and we are running all the 3 other tracks also, both virtual, like we do today with fundamentals, but also as physical search jams in different cities and countries. So go into sumologic.com and choose training and support, and you're going to get all the schedule there. So if we go back to the learning page here, you can also get hold of what we call the cheat sheet. So if I click here, we open up a cheat sheet on all the different operators that you can utilize within Sumo Logic, within the query, right? If we look at docs, if you click here, you're gonna be able to get the online manual. And this is, remember this when you take the certifications, right? So you're gonna be able to get good help from here. And this is a tips from the coach. If you don't know the answer, utilize this link and search for the answer here. What we have more here is what's new. So if you click on what's new, we're gonna open up this link, and here you can see how many updates we have done to the platform. So we did one on the 6th of June, one on the 13th of May, one on the 2nd of May. So we are really releasing a lot of content into this platform in a very agile way. And the nice thing is that everybody that's utilizing Sumo Logic as an enterprise customer or organization will get all the content out of the box included. Okay. So I think I have covered more or less what you can do here. You can of course also ask for support, so you can log a ticket from within the UI, and you can also interact with the community. And the community is really a great community where a lot of users wants to help out and help you. So let us start the walkthrough of the user interface. And if you have any questions, just ping us, me and Honor, and we will try to help you as much as we can. And also we will try to answer your questions as good as we can. If we can't answer them, we will keep track of it, and we will of course get answers internally and then get back to you with an answer to your question. So let me click on new, and from here I can choose 3 options, and we're gonna start with the log search option. So here you see that we are back to the query window. And as we go through the query and how we build the query, I will really make you familiar with the features of this screen. So let us do a very easy search here. Let's search for the word Mozilla, like in the browser Mozilla. So you can see here that I'm searching for the string Mozilla, and because I'm not using any of the 5 different meta tags that you remember that we spoke about, I'm looking for the string Mozilla in all my logs. Another value that you need to put into the system is how long back you want to look for this string. So in this case, you can utilize a relative time picker here, like the last 15 minutes, the last 60 minutes, the last 3 hours, or you can of course write it yourself here. So here you can see that the syntax for the last 15 minutes is -15 minutes, and if I choose the last 1 minute, then I write it as -1m. And of course, I can utilize recent options that I have utilized, and I can also go into custom. So here you can pick days and times directly. But let us make it a little bit simple. So let us check for Mozilla for the last 60 minutes and click on start. So here you see that you get the result directly. And you saw that we have an option called receipt time that you can choose as option. And when you utilize this, then you're gonna search on the messages based on when they were received, when Sumo Logic saw them and ingested them, right? So if we do it without this option clicked in, like this, we're going to utilize the timestamp that Sumo Logic has found within the log event itself. If we utilize this option, we're going to utilize when we received the log event itself. And this is a very good feature if you have an environment where maybe you have servers or different data sources with a system clock that is not really synced up, right? So you can utilize this for that. So if I want to make this a little bit more specific, let us change the query here to source category. And what I'm starting to do now is that I'm starting to utilize meta tags. So if I put in labs and I would say star and do a space, then I would look for the string Mozilla within the source category labs and everything under that. But I want to be more specific in this example. So let me put in Apache and access. So what I'm looking in now are the access logs from my web service, my Apache logs. So if I run the same query here, we are getting 191,000 events plus. So please don't, if you get another result than me, don't be afraid, because it's just when I search it exactly with that moment, I get these events. If I would run it again, I get another result, right? So this is not really doable, right? To walk through 194,000 events. So let me check the last 15 minutes instead, and I hope we're gonna get, oh, what a bummer, 44,000 events or even more than that. So I want to parse the log message. And when we talk about parsing, I want to be able to look for fields that I can extract, right? So you can utilize two options. You can either utilize a regular expression, and that is called a regex, or you can utilize field extraction rules or anchor parses. And we will go through both two mechanisms. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to copy a regex here, and I'm going to paste it into my search bar here. So if I press Alt and Enter, and this is something that you can configure under preference, I get a new line. And then when I paste this that I have copied, you see that I start with a pipe sign. So this is like Unix or Bash query language or scripting language. You can see that everything that is done here will be then moved into the next part that is on the right side of the pipe sign. And you can continue to utilize more pipe signs like this and do more. And you're going to see that in a little bit later within the demo. So if I run this query here, what we are doing now is that we are parsing with the help of the regex. And the regex is a standard for looking through text files. And if you want to get more information about regex, one good site is regex101.com. And this is here you can try your own regular expressions, you can get explanation, and you can do a match information. But just to explain it very simple, what we're doing here is that we are parsing all the logs and we are looking for an IP number. Yeah, I'm gonna paste this regular expressions into the chat box. Good point. Here you go. So what we're doing here is that we are parsing all the log files and we are looking for a number string that has 1 to 3 zeros with 4 octets, or 1 to 3 dot 1 to 3 numbers dot 1 to 3 numbers dot 1 to 3 numbers, like an IP4 number, okay, like a IP4 address, and then we parse it into source IP. So you can see here that we have, with this, we have parsed all the IP numbers that we see here, like this, and you get extra table here with that field, right? So now you have source IP extracted. And the nice thing with Sumo Logic is that we do this at query time. You can also do it at ingestion time, but the flexibility is just amazing here, because you don't really need to know what you are looking for when you are ingesting the file, the different logs and metrics. You can start with a very broad query and then go into details and start to parse the different fields. So this is how you utilize parse regex. So the second option I'm gonna show you is to utilize more or less the graphical user interface to be able to parse the different fields. So we call this Parse Anchor. So now you see that I'm looking for everything within source category Labs Apache Access. And if I choose the whole message like this, or let us take a better example, I want to utilize this example here. Now I have marked this, and now you do a right click and you select parse selected text. So what we are doing now is that instead of writing the regexes, we're going to utilize Sumo Logic to help us parse the information in a correct way. So here you start to mark the field that you want to extract, and then it says clicks to extract this value. And when I click here, then you get a star. And then you need to put in a corresponding field. So in this case, let's call this IP address, colon. And the next field could be maybe the timestamp. And the next example could be the URI. So I think this could be the URI, or let's do it from here. And then we call this URI. And I think the status code is also important when it comes to web server logs. So call this status code. And I also want to have the size of the transaction itself in bytes. So let's mark that, and we will get size. And the last thing could be the user agent. So let us choose this one, and the user agent is like the information on what type of operating system the user have utilized, the type of browser he has been utilized, and so on. So let's do it like this, and then we call that user agent. And from here, submit. So now you see that the graphical user interface has built the parsing information here. And when I run the query here, you can see that we have the fields, time and message. And when I run this query, hopefully it's going to work. You can see that we get all the different fields that I have extracted with the help of the Parse Anchor command. So you can see now that now we have IP address, we have status code, we have timestamp, we have user agent, we have URI, and then we have the full message itself. So this is how you start to build out the different fields that you can then utilize for the query. So the thing here is that, yeah, this is very nice, but do you really want to do this every time you run a query? And if stuff could be done out of the box, wouldn't that be much nicer? So let me redo this query. And one good operator, or one good command, is to do 2 slashes. 2 slashes before something within the query will mark that as a comment. So when I run this query again, you're going to see that we are not getting any field extractions, right? Display fields. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to walk through the concept of a field extraction rule. And the field extraction rule is really here. You can see that you have we are displaying time and message as the fields plus the whole log message itself. So if I click on the hidden fields that we have here, like collector, you see that I get the collector labs Apache. And let me show you how I can set up these rules that you see here, the different hidden fields, so they work on every ingested Apache message. Okay, so let us walk that through. So first, you need to go into manage data. And from here, you choose collection, and collection is the page where you take care of all your different mechanisms to get logs, metrics, and events into Sumo Logic, right? So from here, we need to choose manage data. And from here, choose settings. And from here, we have what we call a field extraction rule. So let us do a field extraction rule on the fields and the content that I showed before manually. So let's click on add, and we can call this Apache logs. The scope should be, what should that be? Yeah, I think we should go with the same source category, right? Like we did in the manual query. So here we're gonna pull out information from the access logs from within my Apache logs in my lab environment. And here you can see a lot of the different content that we have built out of the box. So here you can choose standard logs. So for example, if you would choose Akamai Cloud Monitor logs, we have already pre-built the parsing command that you will utilize. So here you can just choose template and it will be copied into the parse expression. And of course, you can change this to whatever suits you in your environment. But we're going to choose Apache access logs, right? So this is the example or the template, and here is the parse expression. And from here, click add. And now you can see that we have a new field extraction rule that will parse all the Apache logs accordingly to the fields here. So you see this is the parsing mechanism, and now you see the result here. So now we can see referrer, status, URI, and so on. Any questions, please do raise it in the Q&A. So let us check more what we can do with the query language. So instead of all the fields that we have now, we can start to utilize. So one easy thing is to do a count, and what we're going to do now is count by, and then we utilize one of the fields that we are extracting from the access logs. So if I write status code, we're going to do a count by status code, and when I run this, you're going to see that we are dividing up the different values within the field status code, and we do a count on how many log events we have with them. So now you can you see this in an aggregated view, and you can go back to all the messages in clear text and then go back to the aggregated view. So from here, you can build a chart and you can build a dashboard, and we're gonna go back to that. So if you want to make this query a little bit more interesting, what we can do is that we can do a time slice. And when we do a time slice like this, so I'm going to show you. So let us do a new line like this, another one, and then copy like this. So what we're doing here now is that when I run this, if you want to show trends over time, so now what we're doing is that we're going to do a total count by status code over the last 15 minutes, but it's going to be divided into 1 minute. I think time slice 1 minute. Yeah. So what we're going to do is that we're going to do like this. We're also going to do a count by. So we're going to change this. Count by time slice and then status code. And what we're going to do now is that we're going to do a count both on the time slice and the status code. And now now we can see that each time slice with different status code has a count. Okay. So from there, it's not really in chronological order. So let's sort them. So what we can do is that we can utilize one of the fields, like this, the status code field, and put in another operator called order by. So here we do order by time slice in ascending order, right? So now you see that it is sorted accordingly to the time slice in ascending order. Okay. So this is good, but maybe it's a bit difficult to interpret all my status code versus time. So if we could do something similar like in Excel. So what I can do here is that I can transpose the information or the result that I have here. So if I put in a new line with the operator transpose row, you're going to get a result like this. So now I have built a table, Excel-like spreadsheet, where I have divided up the different status codes into the different time slices and then have a count. So now I know that during this time slice, I had 4 500s in status code. And during this time slice, I had 3,365 status code 200. Okay. So this is how you build the query. But really, is this a good way of looking at something? No, I don't really think so. So let us, let us look at error code 200 and error code 200 and status code 304. So instead of looking at everything, I want to check, for the status code 200 and 304. That's fine. But before that, let us utilize the charting mechanisms inside here. So when I click on the different charts here, you see that the ones who is not grayed out, you can see that you can utilize that type of chart. So when I choose the line chart, you get the result like this. So now you have all the different status codes divided up through a line chart. So back to my example where I just want to look maybe at status code 200 and 304. So how do we do that? So let us do a new line. And once again, each function or each command that you're doing within one pipe character is then moved into the result of that is moved into the next pipe command. So let us check for something specific. So we are still looking in source category, labs, Apache access, but what we want to look for are where we find the status code 200 or status code 3 or 4. So from here, if I run this query, you're going to see that we have taken away status code 200 and status code 3 or 4 in the result. So the exclamation mark here is the operator for taking this away. So instead, if you would do where status code, now we have 200 and 3 or 4. Okay. Any questions? No, crystal clear? Good. So I have showed you a couple of a few popular operators. So if you go to the documentation tab, as I showed you before, I'm just going to wait for the. So here we have the documentation tab, and you can search for operators and click on search operators. And you're going to be taken into all the different search operators that you can utilize within the concept of the query. What you also can do with the result, of course, from the query is that you can export the result here. So from here, you can click on the gear icon, and then let's go into messages. And from here, you can export displayed fields. So then you're going to get a file that you can download, like here, a comma separated file with the result from the query. So this is done from the message view. It can't be done from the aggregated view, right? So this was a couple of popular operators that you can use for the search. I want to walk through what we also call outliers. And an outlier operator creates several result columns which allow you to plot a graph with outliers being identified outside of a defined standard deviation threshold. And you saw examples of that in the demo where you saw the bookings and then the outliers plus and minus, right? So let us open up a quick start outlier query. And I'm gonna share this in the chat window also. So you can utilize this in your own environment if you don't have it there. I'm not sure that is there. But here you can see we're gonna go with the last 3 hours here and then run the query. So now you can see that we have got a result here. So here is the result and here is the calculated outlier. This is really, if I run the query here again, and do it in a table. Here you're going to see the result in a table format. So you see the error count, you see the error count upper, the error count lower, and so on. And the very nice thing with Sumo Logic here is that you can alert on any of these values. As long as we are extracting these values, you're going to be able to do an alert on them. So back to the line chart. So what you can see here is that you maybe want to modify the math here. So you see here that we are looking at outlier error count window 10. We have a threshold of 3. So right now we are using a standard deviation of 3, but we change it to threshold to 2. And let's see what happens with the result here. And all these different outlier values within the operator are fully documented, right? So go into documentation and you will have full explanation of the different values here. So let's run this query again. And now you see that the outlier has been, plus minus the outlier has been squeezed together a little bit, right? So we have looked at the outlier. What I want you to take a look at once more are the log reduce and the log compare operators or functions built in. So let us open up another query, and I will take this query and I'm gonna post this also inside the chat box. So what we're doing here with log reduce here is that we, once again, we utilize the machine learning to group the different logs together accordingly to similarity. What we also are doing here is that we can utilize the other machine learning function that we call log compare. And what it really does is, you know, to try to see if something has happened in the past. You know, is there anything that I should be concerned on that are ongoing in my I don't see parse text here. Yeah, you got it. Okay, good. So back to the log compare function. The log compare function is something that you can tag onto the log reduce command. And what it really does is basically it does a log reduce in between 24-hour time periods, which will compare to the previous relevant time period. So if I click on, we have already done log compare here in this query. You can see that the log compare is seeing this type of logs being, the amount is 2.1% higher than 24-hour before, right? Here you can see something is totally new. And here you can see that one type of log event or similar log events has gone down by 16%. And this is a very good function to see if something has changed in your environment very quickly, right? So I want to show you, now we are looking at data that has occurred in the past. If you want to look at something that is really happening in real time, I'm going to show you another function called live tail. So let us copy this source category and go up here and choose a live tail. So if I click on live tail, what we're going to do here is that we're going to open up a new window where you can put in the source category, and you can run this. And from here, you see all the snort logs. Snort is logs coming from yeah, good point. I got questions regarding the thumbs up and thumbs down within the log compare and log reduce option. We are covering that in the other training sessions, but they are really to be able to vote up and vote down if you think that the result is not correct. So it's to give feedback into the machine learning algorithms. Okay. I will type that as an answer also. So you can see here that now we are running a live tail on all the logs coming from my Snort installation. And what you can do from here is that you can mark something, you can enter term to highlight. So every time you see an error, you're going to get that. Every time you see OK, it's going to have that color, and so on. So the live tail is pre-processed before we have done the field extraction and before we have run any queries. So this is a very good feature to look at your live data coming into Sumo Logic pre-processed, right? So let us see how we can utilize the same query here that we had here, and let's utilize this one to save as an alert. So from here, when I click on Save As, here you name this query as an alert. You can write a description, and also what you have here is the query itself and the time range. And here you can set the location where you want to save this query. And from here, we can schedule this as a real-time query, hourly, or daily. So this means we will run this alert on a daily basis. And as soon as we see when this query is run, it's going to run every day at 6 o'clock. I could run this in real time. And that would mean that you would have this query running the whole time in real time, right? What you need to change here then is the time range from 60 minutes to 15 minutes or below that. But we're going to utilize daily. And from here, you say also send notification if this condition is met. And the alert condition is that if you get a value that is greater than something, fewer than or equal, then you're going to trigger the alert. And the alert itself can I'm going to do a recap. So we choose Save As. So Save As saves the current search as an alert. And here, back to this one, we do daily. And from here, you can choose to send off an email. You can trigger a script. You can integrate with ServiceNow, for example. you can run a webhook, or you can save the result back to your index. And I'm not going to go into more details regarding this. I'm just going to choose fire off the email, save this, and utilize my own email address here, like this, sumologic.com, and save. So as soon as, I think we have already name with this, so demo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have saved this as a query running scheduled. Okay. So if we want to utilize the dashboard functions, you saw that we looked at line charts, and you saw that we did other table like dashboards. So if you want to utilize and build your own dashboard, let's go back to the quick start outlier query. So let's open up this one and open up a copy, and we can run this, and we can do click line chart. So now we have this nice graph here, and then you have the option here, add to dashboard. So we can call this access status outlier, and we can put it into Niklas' own dashboard, create new dashboard. And I'm going to put it on the personal here. So when I click on add, you can see that the green icon shows that this is a dashboard with panels, and here the yellow icon is a query. Okay. So let's do the quick start snort again. I'm just going to rerun this. So we can look for, let us choose another one. So I have a bunch of different queries here that I think you're also going to have in your environment. So we can take it. This was a very complicated one. All HTTP responses count, and we can do a pie chart of that. So then we do add to dashboard, and we choose Niklas again, and we add it to this. Click add. And the nice thing here is that you have full drag and drop options here, right? So you can make your own dashboard, and back to the app catalog that we spoke about. You remember that we had the app catalog within the presentation. Here is all the different kickstarts that we have pre-built for you just to utilize. And we're going to walk that through. So within the app catalog, if you want to enable an app here, let's look for Apache, for example. We have Apache here. And from here, you can choose to look at the preview of dashboards. Here are all the dashboards that we have from the Apache app per default, and you can reuse all the queries from all the panels here. So what you need to do here is that you need to add to library. Click here. And then you need to call this a specific app, and I'm going to call this Niklas Apache app. What we also are looking for is the source category. And if you can see here, learn more under the within the same window where you could do a preview of the dashboards, you can also click learn more. And here you have full documentation on how to set up the collection. And this is something we walk through in the other sessions that we also run for free. But in this example, we're going to utilize labs, Apache. Let's look for that. Here we have Apache and Access. So here you have the Apache log source. We are also going to need the error logs. So here we're gonna look for labs, Apache, error. And of course, you can put it in your own personal folder. You can choose where you want to put it and just click add to library. Takes a couple of seconds. So we are utilizing the backend to get this running. And now you can see that I have a new folder called Niklas Apache app with all my different dashboards and queries already enabled out of the box. So easy. So let's take a look at Apache overview. So now I'm looking directly at the data that I just downloaded, that I just, within this app context, because I already had the logs coming into Sumo Logic. I only did the enablement of this Sumo Logic application for Apache data. So if I want to utilize the queries or the content that we have here, so let's go into the Apache visitor locations, right? So you see here that all the different panels has a query running, and you have the time picker here. So if you want to utilize this query here, you just click on it like this, show in search, and here you have the query itself. And you can change the query however you want. So for example, if you want to do a time slice 10 minutes instead, this is the result you're going to get, and you can update the dashboard. If you choose update dashboard, then the query will be updated in the panel, or you can utilize this to add to dashboard. And then we can go back to Niklas add. And now we have a third dashboard taken from the out-of-box content. So this is very easy how you can build your own dashboards. Okay, so that was the demo and the content that I wanted to show you for now. Let us reconvene in 5 minutes. Take a 5-minute bio break, and we're gonna start to utilize the labs. So please log on to this environment. If you haven't done that, go in here and choose learn. No, sorry, I mean certification. And then from here, you choose fundamentals and then the tutorial. So here is the tutorial that you can utilize and walk through to be able to see what we have done. Let's reconvene in 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. So I'm back again. Let's let's take 30 minutes for labs from now on. I have walked through most of the labs, so I want us to do a couple of these together and a couple of these by yourself. So please, everybody log on to your training environment. Once again, I'm going to share the login. So you go into service.sumologic.com, and the username that you're going to utilize for the labs is training+labs@sumologic.com, and the password is sumolabs with a 0. Okay. So please log on, and then from the learning page, you go into, or the certification page, you search, you click on tutorial, right? So I'm going to do that here. So let me go into my browser again. So here I have utilized here I have opened up the labs. So I think if you sign in, walk through, you're gonna see that you have the collectors Apache, and then start to do a log search. So go into click new and choose the log search, and then go through the different commands that I showed in the demo. So for example, do count by source category. So everything is really well documented here. And you're going to be able to utilize the lab environment and the training environment for several weeks. So you can go back and you can look at the labs here, going through how to install an app, view the content, and so on. So I'm gonna give you 25 more minutes from now to walk through. And when you have gone through one page, then you just click on part 2 and so on and so on. And if you don't have time for all of it, then you can just go back and do this after this session. So we're gonna reconvene at 5 past the hour, or let's say 10 past the hour. We're gonna be a little bit late to be able to take the exam, and me and Honor will of course be here to help you with any questions, any problems. But really what you're walking through here in the labs is what I showed you in the hands-on real-time demo. Okay, good luck. Okay, I will give you 10 more minutes with the labs. Any questions, just ping me or Nur in the chat box or in the Q&A, and we will help you. Okay. Okay, I think we are starting to get done with the last labs here. Any questions? Just ping me and Onur here, and we can help you if you have had problems with any of the labs. And also, I'm going to walk through a couple of more slides where you can see where you can get help. So I'm going to share my presentation again. And after that, we're gonna go through how to start the certification, and we're gonna be online to help you if you have any questions during the certification. Okay, so one functions that I just want to touch on and that you saw within the first demo that we walked through are the very great function within Sumo Logic called metrics. So with metrics, you can really identify the what, and the logs that you saw could identify why, right? So we gonna walk this through in the other tracks that you can do for free also online or during a search jam in your local town. But the overlay that you saw really helps you correlate metrics to the relevant logs. You know, if you remember when I showed you the heat map together with the CPU and memory utilization. So when it comes to ingesting metrics, we can look at host metrics like Windows, AWS, ECS, Mac, Unix, and so on. And we can look at AWS metrics, we can look at Azure metrics, we can look at GCP metrics, and then of course we can do graphite compatible metrics. And we're gonna share this slide deck with you also. So don't worry, so you're gonna get all the links included in this presentation. So a dashboard, as you saw, can contain both metrics and a log panel. And when you set up a dashboard with metrics, you can set thresholds, so it can change the color of the background, like you saw in the traffic light that we had. You know, when we were over a certain threshold, then the traffic light went from green to yellow, and then maybe from yellow to red. So the last part I wanted to walk you through very quickly before we have time for the certification or the exam is, where do I go from here? So within the learning tab, you have the different tutorials. You also have recorded sessions that you can utilize to both get to know how to utilize Sumo Logic, more complex queries, and how to set up Sumo Logic, like install a collector, add a source, and so on. Everything you will access from the Learn tab or from our documentation online. You remember the cheat sheet that I showed you, access to comprehensive list of the operators and so on. We have the docs, the helpline online. Here you remember that we could find out what is new, what we have released. You can find the answer within the community if you click here. And you can attend review training and get certified. And all training and all certifications today are for free. And of course, the last part is to open a support case. So I'm going to open up any questions. Then just raise it in the Q&A and we will answer that. So in order to get credit for the exam in your own instance, and if you don't have an instance, go to Sumo Logic and I'm gonna just walk you through that very quickly. So let's open up the browser, and then Sumo Logic free trial, and from here you go into free trial Sumo Logic, and here you start your free trial, and you just click in here and you're going to get an email. So you can utilize your private email or your corporate email address here and click sign up, and from there you're going to get a login with a link to the login page, and from there you choose learn and certifications. So we are a little bit over time here, so me and Honor is going to be online, and I'm going to be online as long as needed. So if you have any questions regarding the certification, any other questions, please feel free to ping me or Honor on the Q&A or the chat function within the Zoom. The last thing I wanted to show you before we do the certification was there is a Slack channel that you can join if you want to do live conversation around Slack. So slack.sumologic.com, and please feel free to join that. And there are both a big bunch of community people here, but also Sumo Logic people, employees, Sumos as we are called, that will help out in any way we can. Okay, so let's take time for the certification, the exam. Me and Honor will be online, so we can help you with questions, both from a certification point of view or exam point of view, but also, you know, if you have other questions. So please feel free to, yeah, okay. So a quick question that I can take live here. So one attendee asked, it says 3 attempts for the certification. If you, for any reason, doesn't if you're not being able to take the certification within these 3 attempts, just get back to us and we will help you with that. So you will get a reset on that counter. Okay, so 3 attempts is not like 3 attempts and you're out. We want everybody to be able to learn as much and enjoy Sumo Logic as much as they can. So please get back to us, and we will reset that counter for you, and you can retake the exam again. Okay. So I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if you need any help or have any questions, please utilize the Q&A or the chat window, and we're going to help you as good as we can. Okay. Thank you again for taking the time. It has been a pleasure, and hope to see you again maybe soon. Bye-bye.